I want to start off by thanking actually the environmental groups out there, because if it was not for them, I wouldn't be sitting here. The environmental groups allowed me to hear about the possibility of providing an oral statement, something the government or Enbridge surely has not stressed to the public. I'm here today to add another person to your growing list of people that publicly oppose the Northern Gateway project proposal set forth by Enbridge, which is of course to construct a tar sand, crude oil, bitumen carrying pipeline from Bruderheim, Alberta to northern BC port of Kitimat. I'm also strongly opposed to any oil tanker traffic on BC's coast. That would be a direct requirement if this project were to be approved. Sometimes you have to ask yourself some questions. Why are we here exactly? Why do I live in BC? We all have our reasons. For a lot of us, the answer revolves around finding a better way of life. Is that not what living is all about? Except for First Nations, we're all immigrants here. We're all pretty new here to BC. We have all come here for one reason or another. I am German. You may not hear it directly from my voice, as I've lived in BC the majority of my life. So why are we here? Why have our ancestors moved here? I'll tell you my father's story. He grew up as a kid in the 50s and 60s in the industrial heartland of Germany, the so-called Ruhrpott. Coal mining and the continual expansion of industry gave Germany wealth, but it came at a heavy consequence to the industrial heartland region, the trashing of the environment. Acid rain from the sky that melted ladies' stockings, toxic rivers without any fish, thick air pollution with all its health-related consequences. My father wanted to raise his family in a place where nature was still alive and thriving, a place with an intact ecosystem, a place that sustains life on all levels. His search brought us, myself included, eventually to the west coast of Canada. Clean air, clean water, nature, a place to raise a family, a place that attracts people from all over still to this day. Today, in the year 2013, we Canadians sit at the exact cusp of what Germans faced during the start of the Industrial Revolution in the early 1900s. We, like them, are sitting on a fossil fuel gold mine, lucrative at first, but with environmental consequences, if tapped into, that will haunt us for millennia to come. Now we sit here, just like the Germans did at the start of the Industrial Revolution. Industry and big corporations have their shovels and drills ready. We, unlike the Germans, have the benefit of history behind us and the advances of science. There are no excuses to go ahead with these type of projects. There's just a few greedy individuals that want these to go through. If we screw this up and trash our Western Canada, we have ourselves a bit of a problem. There are not too many more pristine places left to move to on our little planet. One look around on Google Maps will tell you that story. This whole planet, every corner of this globe, has human activity with an associated environmental impact. Where would you like me to move to? Where should we move to? When we've trashed Western Canada, our coastline, no fish left in the water, cancerous compounds penetrating our water and food system, as is already happening in northern Alberta. Let's flip the question around. Do we not want to have clean land and clean water? Why not set up energy systems that are based on sustainable cycles, not these hopeless one-way linear paths of excavate, produce, trash, repeat? Clean land, clean air, and clean water sustain life indefinitely. It makes us happy. It draws people here, people with talents, people that make Canada a better place. Let's keep that. Let's keep Western Canada pristine and build new energy systems based on renewable energies. I grew up in BC, in the Terrace area up north. These places are absolutely gorgeous. Raw nature, wild places. We have absolutely no right to put in mega projects like the one proposed by Enbridge that will trash them. My name is Mike. I have a PhD in biochemistry, and I make my living as a researcher and an instructor at the University of British Columbia. As a researcher, my role is to critically analyze primary data, separate fact from fiction, true result from artifact, solid data from shoddy data. I like looking for the truth. My concern for Canada's environment, combined with my tenacious scientific background and attention for detail, has led me to research 7 issues directly implicated by this pipeline project that I summarize as follows. This proposed project, from start to finish, does not make sense to the general Canadian public. If constructed, it would continue and exacerbate the environmental trashing of northern Alberta's land and water. We all need healthy land to grow food. We all need clean water. If constructed, it would lead to unavoidable pipeline leaks, trashing BC's water, fish stocks, and land. If constructed, in time, would cause a certain tanker spill, trashing our ocean and trashing our coast. If constructed, it would guarantee more CO2 emissions and guarantee a contribution to a climate catastrophe that we all want to avoid. If constructed, it would rot out the Canadian economy. If constructed, it would further our dangerous addiction to oil in a world of shrinking reserves. And finally, if constructed, it would waste time, resources, and money. The public has to use its time, resources, and money wisely to construct infrastructure that transitions us into a future without cheap energy. A future that will require the building of infrastructure that taps into renewable energies. The window on that time frame is closing, so let's get on with it. Each of these 7 statements I mentioned in isolation make already a solid argument against building this project. Taken together, these 7 statements make an airtight case against this proposed project. This is an outright unacceptable project that will cause public harm in the short term and most definitely in the long term, and not just for Canadians, but also any citizen on this planet. The current state of democratic affairs has gotten me deeper and deeper involved in energy and environmental issues, as current government and policymakers are not acting to stand up for people nor the environment. That is your job, so I encourage you to do it. In closing, I strongly urge you, the panel, to outright reject this fossil fuel project and any other future similar projects. These type of projects are not in the greater interest of Canadians. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you to each of you for being here and presenting your views and experiences with us.